Hello, my name is Jasmine Westbrooks, registered dietitian and nutritionist, and today we are going to cook vegetable stir fry. So the ingredients that you will need today will be a cup of brown rice, which I've already prepared. You'll need half a pound of broccoli, which I have here. You'll need 2 medium celery stalks and a medium carrot. You can use jalapeno or any kind of chili pepper, but I am going to use chili pepper flakes today. And garlic. You'll also need tofu or chicken, and today I'm actually going to use tofu. I'll show you exactly what I did to prepare that tofu in a second. So this is kind of what the tofu looks like if you get it. I got the extra firm just because I want it to be as firm as if you were using chicken. But if you want to use chicken, you can use that as well. And 2 tablespoons and 2 teaspoons of low sodium soy sauce. And you want to get some brown sugar, a tablespoon, and a tablespoon of cornstarch, and 2 tablespoons of canola oil. And then of course, your ginger, which I've actually added with my brown sugar. So before you get to chopping up any of this stuff, remember the #1 step always is to wash your hands, which I've already done. Some other type of equipment that you may use would be your skillet with a top or a lid. You'll also need a sharp knife, which we have here, and a small bowl. And you will also need a cutting board, which I have the vegetables on, and measuring cups and spoons as well, and a vegetable peeler, which I have here. So let's get started. So first, we are going to start with the rice. Okay, so after you finish washing your hands, you want to make sure you cook your rice, and if you can, try to get a brown rice, which brown rice is extra beneficial just because it has a lot of fiber in it. So it can have about 2 to 3 grams of fiber depending on what type of brown rice that you get. Now, for me, what I like to do, because brown rice has like a little nutty consistency or texture or taste, what I like to do is boil mine in low sodium broth. So a cup of rice for about 2 cups of low sodium broth, just to give it a little bit of flavor instead of a nuttier flavor, because it is completely different as far as taste when it comes to white rice and brown rice. So that's my tip for that. It does take a little bit longer to cook, so roughly about 30 to 45 minutes to actually use the brown rice or boil the brown rice. So the brown rice is done, as you can see, and now we'll move on to the next step, which are the vegetables. So the cool part about getting in fiber, or really a way to remember if a typical food has fiber, is to think, did it come from the ground at some point? Did it grow from the ground originally? And if it did, then it has fiber. So another way of saying that is plant foods have fiber. And those are the foods that you want to eat 80% of your time out of your entire eating pattern or diet. So we're finishing up with the broccoli right now. And I think that's enough for this particular dish. So what I'm going to do is wash or rinse this off so that I can continue. Rinse off my knife. And now we move on to carrots. All right, carrots have beta carotene, which is amazing for eyesight. Beta carotene is actually an antioxidant that is preventative in cancer. And I didn't realize this too, that this year we know that National Cancer Month is February as well. So who knew? But now you do. So now what we'll do is we will peel the carrot. So I've washed it off already. And so we're peeling our carrot just to get that rough outer skin off, so that's a little bit more pliable to the tongue, or really tasteful for the tongue. And so as I am peeling the carrot, and you can always use, already diced carrots if that's what you want to use, but they will be a little bit more expensive in the store. So that's always an option. All right, so now we're gonna cut the carrot. I'm just gonna cut it straight across. Again, cutting at a size that is similar to the celery so that they both have the same chance of being cooked or done or soft to a good texture by the end of the cooking time. All right. So we have our carrots, and I'm actually going to add our carrots to our bowl of broccoli that we cut up. And then last but not least will be garlic. Garlic, amazing, right? Why is garlic amazing? Well, when you use garlic, a good tip, well actually, let me show you now. Get your knife in order to crack it open. You can peel the skin off if you want, like that little shelly skin, but I usually don't. This is easier to smash it down and then take the skin off and then cut it up. And the recipe calls for 1 clove of garlic, but I'm gonna use 2 just because I like the flavor of garlic. So garlic, whenever you chop it up, it's so helpful, especially fresh garlic. When you cut it, you let it sit for about 10 minutes and it produces all the compounds of antioxidants and what we call phytochemicals that fight heart disease, that fight or improve your blood sugars, that fight cholesterol. So let it sit for about 10 minutes after cutting, and as you can see, I am dicing this garlic up and I'm gonna let it just sit to the side for a little while before I move on to my next step. Garlic is just so tasty, so it's a good way to not use a lot of salt too, because a lot of times people want salt for the flavor, and garlic gives you that nice balance of a flavor that you'll like, especially when you mix it with like an olive oil or something like that. All right, so now that we have our vegetables chopped, the next step would be, if you're using chicken, you can remove the skin, try to get as much fat off as possible from that chicken, especially if it's visible fat, and you want to cut the chicken into pieces. Now, I've decided not to use chicken, but to use what we call tofu. Now, what is tofu? Tofu, and this is the container that it came in, it is pretty much soybean, okay? And it comes in a square, a white square, and I'm going to show it to you today. And if you noticed, I actually have a plate on top of it because let me show you what it looks like out of the package here. This is what it looks like out of the package, and the kind that I got is extra firm. So again, this is soybean manipulated into this actual square, and there's no taste to it. You add the flavor to it. So this is very popular among vegans or vegetarians or people who just want to start to eat a little bit more plant-based, or if you just want to try it. You don't have to really dedicate yourself to plant-based in order to try the tofu. So with the tofu, what I did, I put paper towels on a plate, and then I put paper towels on top of the tofu, and then I put a plate on top of it because that helps to drain the water out of it. And I would say to do this for about 30 minutes to an hour. So I've already done this and prepped it for this particular recipe, but we're gonna try tofu today. Now, tofu is beneficial because, again, it's heart health. It's from actual beans. So it's packed with protein, it's packed with fiber. So it still gives you that feeling of being full. And just think of it as a substitute for any kind of meat that you may add to any dishes. So the only way to make it taste good is to add lots of flavor, and that's what we're going to do here today. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and take off, as you see, these paper towels are kind of wet because this is what I put on top of the tofu, and then put some weight on that actual paper towel just to kind of drain that water out. I'm going to take my tofu and I'm actually going to cut it just long ways and then back again square, and I'll show you. So what I'm going to do is just cut it long all the way across because I want it to have kind of the appearance as if it's a type of meat or chicken. All right. So this is long ways, perfect. And then I am going to cut it short way across, okay? So right across. And as you can see, it's kind of already starting to lift. perfect. And if you want it smaller than that, then you can always just take each row and just cut it straight across one more time. So you get more of like a cube texture. And this is what you come up with here. So this would be your tofu that you will marinate in with the flavors that we'll add to it, and it'll be like a chicken substitute for you. But it's healthier, it's heart healthy for you, and it has lots of benefits. So I'm going to finish cutting these across because I do want them to be slightly cubed. And if you haven't tried tofu before as far as cooking in the home, you know, if you're kind of nervous about trying it, try it out. You know, try it out to eat. This tofu is actually more of like a Asian cuisine. It all started with the Asian cuisine, and America has really just now gotten the news about it, and we use it a lot more within the last about 7 to 8 years. But tofu is a good alternate. All right, so now our next step, once you either take off the fat from your chicken or you let your tofu soak and cut it up into cubes, what you'll do now is take a small bowl, and then we're going to add in our soy sauce. So remember, this is the low sodium soy sauce. We're also going to add in our brown sugar and our cornstarch. And remember, I chose not to use any kind of like jalapeno pepper or any kind of chili pepper, so I'm actually going to use chili flakes, which I thought would be a little bit different spin on the actual combination here. So what we're gonna do is stir that, and I'm just gonna use my little mini whisk here and stir that up really good until it is all blended together very well. And then in a medium skillet, you know, over medium-high heat, you wanna heat your oil. So now I'm gonna put this to the side, and we are going to use our oil, and we're going to turn that over and add in our oil. Our pan is at a good temperature. So we've added in our oil here. All right, so we've added in our oil, and now we're going to use a little bit of ginger to that. Add a little bit of ginger, and then we will also stir that as well. And ginger is one of those types of spices that has a punch. Like, you can smell the ginger. Ginger is also good with digestion. So if you have upset stomach, or you feel nauseous, then this is a good type of tea to drink, ginger tea, or you can put a little bit of ginger in your water to help settle your stomach. So we added the oil and the ginger, and so now what I'm going to do, and I'm going to turn this up just a little bit more, we'll add in our tofu here, but you can add in your chicken. So we'll go ahead and add in our tofu there, and you hear the sizzle. And we want to cook, stirring occasionally until slightly brown. So I'll say for about 2 minutes. So we're gonna let 2 minutes lap. And for the tofu, if you're using that, we just want that to brown as well. Another reason too, to make sure if you're using tofu, to really put that paper towel on it and something heavy like a plate on top of it, and you know, drain it out of water as much as you can, because it will cut the cooking time in half. So right now what we're doing is waiting for the tofu to brown, and it's already starting to brown a little bit. And as you can see, it's still keeping its form in these little cubes, if you can see that, which is good, okay? Because there's all different types of forms or type of textures of tofu that you can get. They have tofu where you can get like a smooth, like pudding, almost liquid consistency where you can make a sauce with. That's more of like a silk type of texture. The one that I have today is the extra firm, but then they also have firm. So the one that's a little less firm that you can get as well. So there's all different types of textures. You really would have to read the label to make sure you're getting the correct texture based on what type of ingredient or dish that you are going to make with the tofu. So the next step, because this is starting to brown really well, and I don't really want it to burn. It probably won't burn too much of anything because it is water-based. So now what I'll do is add in those vegetables. So remember, we have the celery, the carrots, we have garlic, and we also have our broccoli in there. So I'm going to add that in. And I'm going to let that cook, and I'm going to stir that frequently, and I'm going to cook it until the vegetables are pretty much tender. And that can be roughly about 5 to 7 to 8 minutes. All right. All right, so now we've let the vegetables and stir fry cook. I would say it's about tender now. So vegetables look good, tofu looks good, ready to go. Now the next step would be to add in that soy sauce mixture that we created with the cornstarch and the peppers. So now I'm going to add that. Bringing that to a small boil. Perfect. And I am going to stir it very well so that it makes sure it gets all over. And then we're going to put the top back on and let it simmer as that sauce kind of begins to thicken and really gives that tofu a flavor that will taste good and that you'll enjoy. Yeah. So, gonna let that simmer since I've just stirred it so that it's evenly distributed through all of the contents in this, and we'll go to the last step. All right, so now should be ready, okay? Vegetables are tender, our tofu is brown to the point where it's not burned, but it's a nice little brown color to it to show that it's done. So as you can see here, this is what it looks like in our pot or in our skillet. And I'm going to turn the heat all the way off now. And we have our rice. So I'm going to go ahead and plate our rice. All right, and then we will add our vegetable tofu mixture right on top of it. I love this type of meal just because it's easy. It's like a one-pot meal pretty much. It's a one-pot meal. Nobody has time to be cooking all day and then trying to be healthy at the same time, right? So, all right. So this is the end product. Looks good, right? All right, so now I get to get a fork and I get to grab a taste of this. All right, let's taste this. Let's see what we're working with here. Get some vegetables. You taste the flavor, and the best part I like about this recipe too is that I don't like my vegetables mushy. Your vegetables should have like a slight crunch. Not a crunch that's like hurting your teeth, right? Or like you're eating a raw carrot, but it has a nice little crunch to it. And that's so important too, because you don't want your vegetables to be mushy and too soft because they lose so many nutrients that way. So the fact that these vegetables still have a crunch, a flavor, not a hard crunch, but a soft crunch is a very good element to this meal. So thank you all for watching. You guys try this vegetable stir fry, and y'all have a great day, and making sure that you all apply recommendations for high fiber, exercise, adapting a good lifestyle, because we want to see our hearts get better. Thank you. Have a great day.